So you want to become an endodontist, right? But you got to apply and get into endo residency first and foremost. How did she do it? That's the topic of today's episode, how to match and get into endo. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Dr. Darwin, the new dentist coach, with another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin on the New Dentist Podcast Show, where we talk about getting into dental school, surviving dental school, getting into residency, surviving residency, and then life as a new dentist. Guys, be sure that you're able to comment, be sure that you're able to share, and also be sure that you're able to comment, share, and subscribe, right? All you gotta do is hit the button right there. All you gotta do is share it and forward it so that your colleagues and other people that you know can also gain from all the information that we've been sharing on this podcast for many years. Also, this episode of Ask Dr. Darwin is being brought to you by GetIntoDentalResidency.com. GetIntoDentalResidency.com, which is the ultimate service to help you match and get selected to your top residency program this cycle, like right now, just like the doctor that you see on the screen and what she did as well. For more details, go down below and find out more about how we can help you match this cycle as well. All right. So today, special guest, we're going to be talking about all things endo and how to get selected into an endo program. Today, we're joined with Doctor. Before we first met, you were like D4, so now it's official. Dr. Dijana, who is first year endo resident, and she's going to tell you everything about the program, but more importantly about how she did it, how she prepared her application, how the interviews went. So make sure that you guys are staying all the way through, right? Maybe this way, all the way through. All right. So you don't miss any of the content. So, Dr. Dijana, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more for those that are meeting you for the first time.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Darwin. I'm so happy to be here and share my application journey and getting into endo residency. My name is Dijana Elmich-Dubi. I am originally from Bosnia, and I came to US on the track scholarship doing my undergrad studies, where I graduated from Southern Mississippi in Harrisburg, Mississippi. After that, I also have a master's degree in biomedical sciences, dental school. I graduated just recently, May 27th, not even 2 months ago, from Colorado University Dental School, and with my DDS degree. And I was selected straight out of dental school to attend Louisiana State University Endodontic Residency.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again for achieving all of this, especially coming straight out of dental school and just your story, which is a side story, but your story about your travels here to the U.S. and things that you've been doing in preparation for dental school, and then while in dental school, and now as you continue to advance your career in the specialty. So, again, congratulations. So, but for many of us, we want to know, like, why endo? I mean, there's several other specialties in addition to maybe just doing general dentistry, but why did you pick endo?
So my research about different dental, first general dentistry and then different specialties started way before I actually entered dental school. I shadowed many different specialties, and endo really spoke to me. I like to use a kind of analogy of buying a house. If you went through that experience, so like you see a house, and maybe this house you like the garage, or this one house has like nice ceiling, but just not something right. But then you walk into the right house and like, yeah, this is where I belong. So I like, same thing happened with me when I went to shadow an endodontist who is now my really good mentor. I went to his office and I really liked the procedures. I like the technical part and mechanical part of it. I like the challenging diagnoses because it's not very straightforward. And then the piece of relieving pain for the patients, it's a big piece. And then later on, I found out there's a lot of reading in the residency, and I like to read, and I really, really like the school. So that's like a really important part of getting into residency. You're expected to be really self-driven, self-motivated. They don't really hold your hand, so you have to have that component in your personality where you can push yourself to excel. And I feel with my background, and I'm really hard worker, and I wanted to do that. So spoke to me, and for all those various reasons, and because who I am as a person, so it has to, match.
Yeah, it does, and that's how you match, right? Being able to put all that information into your application to really identify and demonstrate why why should programs select you first for an interview through your application, and then reiterating all of that information as part of your application, as part of your interview day as well. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's the first step, right? After you've noticed that you made a determination, okay, endo, this specialty, through shadowing, different experiences. Talk a little bit about how you prepared for your application. What are some of the top things that you did to get you ready?
So I will say that Dr. Darwin, I feel you were really big part of my success in getting accepted right away. I did have put things together, and I've been working on my application literally from day one in dental school. So I knew you have to have good grades, you have to volunteer. And even though I was a little bit kind of hurt by COVID, I did everything that I could in my power to find different ways to be learning and moving forward and give back to community, because that's also really important to me. But even having all that, I knew, talking to my husband, I knew that we needed somebody who has been there, done that. And we did a lot of research and found you and decided to reach out and get help. And what I really liked that you gave us the time and then went through my personal statement, made corrections there, looked over my CV, made sure that everything is organized in the right way. You shared your experience as being a director of the program and how would you pick somebody. And then later when I got picked for the interview, we went through mock interviews, which was really, really helpful. So even though I've been preparing for this application for 4 years, I feel that the small itty bitty, maybe it's a small changes, but I think it made big difference in being the student that was selected for for this residency.
Yeah, and for those of you that are listening and watching, what Dr. Dijana is talking about is get into dental residency right up here. Get into dentalresidency.com. Again, that service that that allowed us to meet and work together in preparing your application and putting it all together, making sure, like you said, that your personal statement is strong, that your letters of recommendation have been sent out, to get to the next step, because that next step is the interview, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But also, it's okay to ask for help. Like I've said many a times, the smartest dental student, the smartest dentist, the smartest individual is that person that asks for help. Everybody needs help, right? And being able to get to the next step professionally and to launch their careers in a very time sensitive manner, but being able to do it in a timely manner as well, because you don't want to waste time, right? It's a big investment already going to dental school, and then next waiting another 2 or 3 years to do specialty or something similar to that, when you've already kind of quote unquote put off your career in comparison to your peers that are maybe already have started their career if they're not in careers in healthcare. So the timing is very key. So again, for those of you that are listening and watching, if you want some help and you realize that you need some help, and just check us out, get into dentalresidency.com as well. So let's talk about the schools, because part of the applications is you have to submit your application to schools. So let's talk about the number of schools that you applied to and why those, I think it was about 6, 7, might have been more than that. I can't recall how many.
So personally, I researched school long in advance, and we decided to apply to 8 schools. The reason why I chose my schools is what was important to me. I wanted a school that accepts students, historically have accepted students straight out of dental school. So I did my research on that. How many of residents spot belongs to somebody straight out of school? So that was one. Number two, I did not take the ADAT test, which is another admission test that some schools require for endo residency. So if you don't know about that, maybe do a little bit of research. More and more schools now making it requirement. Some schools said, yeah, you can take it, we'll look at it, but it's not required. So to me, I felt that my application itself is strong enough. I had a good grade and all the other things that needed for the process were there. So I chose not to take the test at this time. And the third thing is the research or the time of the residency. I wanted a residency that is a master's degree and it's in 2-year program. So that was also important to me. And I chose 8 schools to apply. Do you want me to say about how many interviews I got, or wait?
Well, no, because that's a great segue, because that's an important part of being selected, right? You have to have an interview. You have to have an interview, whether it's virtual or in person. I think you did a combination, but yes, number of interviews. Let's talk about that. But also let's talk about the interview day. If you can just shed some light as to what your interview day was like and any unusual questions that maybe stood out in the interviews that you had as well.
So again, I want to say the importance of working with you, Dr. Darwin, because you and I spoke over Zoom. And my first interview, I was invited to Boston University, and that interview was on Zoom. And it is very easy to lose yourself being on camera all day and kind of, if it's a long interview, you can find yourself drifting or doing this. It's very, things that Dr. Darwin will help you with is how to compose your posture and how not to lose the concentration during that interview. So I prepared really well with you. In fact, we had 3 mock interviews, and I really enjoyed that. That was really helpful because you're nervous wreck going into interview, but going to the mock interviews, you might get those jitters out and iron out your responses. So in an interview, it's very, very super important that you being yourself. So, but you still have to practice how to respond appropriately. And so you have to give good answers, but not sound rehearsed. And it's very important to be yourself because you do not know what the program is looking for that particular year. Because one thing I did learn throughout this process is that maybe what they had last year is not what they're looking for this year around. They are looking for candidates who work hard, who are coachable, who, and let's face it, out of 300 applicants, we're all similar, right? You have to have good grades, you have to have research history, you have to have X, Y, Z. So we are all coming in, and they're just like variations in our resumes. And what makes you stand out, it's actually whatever that program director is looking for that year. So that being said, my first interview was Boston University, and the day of the interview, we started all in a Zoom group meeting, and there were, I want to say, 8 interviewees in the same group. And we were just all talking amongst ourselves first, getting to know each other a little bit, interacting. And then we were invited like in faculty interview with the program director and clinical director of the Boston University, and that portion of the interview was 45 minutes long, and I did not get any surprising questions. It's always tell me about yourself, why Boston, why endo, what maybe I don't remember if they actually even asked me my strengths and weaknesses. They asked me, I did participate in Olympic Games in 2000 for Bosnia in track and field, so they wanted me to speak about that experience. So really nothing out of ordinary, just really getting to know me kind of questions. And I will say that I had no previous endodontic experience, and they did not seem to be bothered by that. So they didn't ask me anything about endo procedures or literature that I've read and anything like that.
Yeah, they want candidates to be teachable.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot for them to teach, and there's a lot for you to learn and teach yourself. With regards to, you know, what's in the literature, what's the evidence-based practices, best practices behind some of the concepts that you're going to be learning as a specialist. So you had one interview at BU. Any other interviews?
Yes. So I was also invited to LSU interview, and that interview was in person. And I must say it was very enjoyable experience. I traveled down to Louisiana, New Orleans. This is in New Orleans. And it was really fun. We all met up, we had the breakfast. There were only 7 people invited. So we were just sitting, and I will say this, they were resident, the first and second year and the current residents with us, program director, chair of the department, and we were all sitting around talking, and then we were given tour of the school, and then we were invited into interviews, individual interviews. In the room, there were a professor who is a part-time professor, well, 2 part-time professors and the chair department and the director of the program. So 4 people interview you, and you kind of sit across from them. And interview was only 15 minutes long, which is not a lot of time. You have to really choose your time wisely and make sure that you don't repeat yourself. They already read your resume, so choose that time to just impress them with something that is not on your resume maybe. But that interview was not that at all long, and it was nothing was asked weird that I was not expecting. Again, tell me about yourself, why endo, and pretty much that was it. And I was offered a spot.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I wanted to mention. You know, those of you that are applying to endo, most of you now know that most endo programs, if not 99.9% of them, do not participate in a match. Meaning that interview day, if you've been granted an interview, yo, you have come a long way. But also keep in mind, because that program or these programs don't participate in match, you could and very may will get an offer that day, or if not within 48 hours. And you have to be ready to push the button that says yes or that you accept. So it's a little bit different. You know, there is no rank list that you have to submit with some of the other specialty programs. So that's why you, as a candidate, in addition to all the work that you've done in the front end, you have to know where these programs rank on your list, because you may have 2 or 3 or 4 interviews, and any one of those interviews you may get an acceptance or be granted an acceptance. And you have to evaluate not only before the interview where those programs are, but you also have to evaluate at the moment, based on those interviews, what your feedback, what your own personal feedback is about the program. And that's some of the things that we talk about and teach and go over in the one-on-one training, the Platinum Professional Training. So you mentioned LSU, which was your second interview, and acceptance. So you had 2 interviews,
And
two acceptances.
yes.
So now you've got 2 issues that you got to figure out so that they combine into one program. So tell us a little bit about how you determined between BU and LSU. What were the deciding factors for you?
So I will be honest, the LSU gives master's degree within the 2 years. The program really was more to, it just felt like home, let's just put it like that. When I was in an interview, because I previously went to school in Mississippi, I felt at ease here, and the program director spoke about how clinically they are very focused on making us very excellent clinicians, and they were giving masters within the 2 years, and I decided to go with LSU. And I just felt like I really fit in with the team. So that's really important when you're going to interview. Don't forget that you are interviewing school and the residents just as much as they're interviewing you. Absolutely. Because you have to live with them for 2 years.
That's right.
You see yourself, is it good, compatible personalities, and that's you can see that really quickly. So that's why it's so important that you be yourself during the interviews. So,
yeah, that's a key point, right? The best fit. Nobody knows the best fit but you. Exactly. The best fit for you, and that's why you have to take notes. That's why you have to evaluate within a couple of hours of your interview. You need to get some feedback and assess what you're feeling, how you're feeling in the interview, because you may have to make a decision within 24, 48, or 72 hours about the spot.
Maybe in a spot.
Yes. What's that?
Or maybe in a spot. You have to
on the spot. Yeah,
yes.
and if you have a significant other, you do have an out. You can say, well, my husband or my wife is not here, but I want to share the news with them, and I'll get back to you as soon as we talk about it. So that's allows you some more time to think and not make an overly emotional response versus a more of a calculated, let me do my final assessment type of response. So LSU, congratulations. That's so great.
Thank you.
That's so great. So 2-year program.
2-year program, master's is granted.
Master's is granted. And currently, how many residents are with you? How many co-residents do you have in your first year class?
So there's total 4. They accept 4 students, 4 residents, yes, every year.
Gotcha. Well, there are a lot of people that are watching and listening that want to say that they also, like you, are endo residents. So knowing what you know now and the things that you've done and things that you experienced to get here, give us some advice or some tips for applicants that are going through the process right now. Give us like 3 or 4 tips that you want to share.
Sure. Most important thing, start early. You want to be within like hours or days when that past application opens. You want to click submit button. Contact your reference faculty early. Like for me, I had my request sent in December prior to May. So 6 months in advance. So I told them the past application opens May 13th, let's say, and I want to have those letters submitted, and they really appreciate it. When you're submitting request for your recommendation letter, make sure, even though faculty knows you, you want to pick somebody who knows you really well. So even that is true, I send a copy of my resume, copy of my personal statement, and the list of schools that I'm applying. That's very important. So you're setting yourself for success, because they needed information to write better recommendation letter, more personal, more personable and centered towards you. Next thing I would say, again, Dr. Darwin, I'm sorry, you didn't tell me to do this, but I just have to say, contact Dr. Darwin. When you have all your ducks in a row, he will help you. He helped me. And I really, truly believe that he was a big part of my success, and made me more confident to interview as well. And what else would I say? Set yourself up for success. Join AAE, read some journals. Even if they don't ask you about it in your interview, it's good to know these things and be connected in community. I just participated in my first AAE annual meeting this year, and I met plenty of third-year dental students going there and meeting program directors. And if you're serious, those are kind of things you're gonna do. I would love to haven't done that, but I was in COVID time and it was online meetings, so I couldn't, but I would have done it, that kind of thing. So those are kind of tips that I can tell you, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Start early. And, if you're not sure that this is what you want to do, that's fine. But if you are sure, start early. 6 months prior to past application opening, it's by the time, May rolls around, your third year student, you need to have everything ready. And third, fourth, sixth CV round, right, written already, and everything has to be perfected by then, so you can just hit submit button really fast.
Those are some great tips. Start early. If anything, if you don't have any major takeaway, if you don't remember anything else, got to start early. It's actually earlier than 6 months, but the letters of recommendation early, because guess what, all the faculty members are writing for everybody in the D4 class. Right? Everybody. So starting early, asking for help. Definitely glad to hear again that us working together one-on-one was very helpful. And I think you're right. I think it did make a difference, because guess what? You matched. You got into endo on your first attempt, and then
straight out of school. That's important.
Say that again.
Straight out of school.
Straight out of school. And that doesn't necessarily happen for everyone, for every program, right? And that's why your application's got to be tight and right?
Yes.
And I think, that, and then the third thing that you strongly mentioned, which is the AAE meeting. Guys, gals, you got to go to the meeting by hook or by crook. If you've got to figure out, even if you got to take 2 days off, even if you have to just go for the weekend, you want to be there. Like Doc mentioned, there's students that are there and joining and being part of that community. You need to know what the community is going to be like that you're involved with.
Yes.
Because you're going to be involved in the endo community and be part and make contributions to the endo community for the rest of your career. So you need to know what's happening, and that will be and can be some questions that will be asked at the interview. Better yet, before you even get to the interview, you need to demonstrate in your personal statement and also in your CV and your documents that you are part of that community, right? So great tips. Oh my goodness, great advice. And we just really excited and happy that you've just started your first couple of weeks. And what's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they have some questions?
Sure. My email address that you can reach me is helpurct, HELP, letter U, RCT @gmail.com.
Good. You guys, it's right up here. Check that out. Boop. All right. Well, Doc, hey, again, thank you so much. Very proud, very glad to hear about the success, not only of us working together, but the product of that success, which is getting into endo, and you're on your way to becoming a board certified endodontist. So this was very helpful. Guys, check out these next set of videos here. Hopefully these will be helpful for you as well. And that's our time, guys. Love, peace, and smiles. We'll see you on the next video. See you next week. See you next week.
Thank you, Dr. Darwin.
Thank you. You're welcome.